Yeah, so Google Forms, right? If you want to get to Google Forms, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can click right here, right? That's hyperlinked. You can go right to it. Or if you're already on Google or logged in somewhere, right? You should have your little 9-button menu up there. If you click there, if you don't see it right away, just click more down below, and then it comes right up, right? And there are all sorts of templates in there already preset that you can go in and change and adjust, or you can start from scratch. Most of the time, I just start from scratch because I already have in my head how I want it, and I have to do too much changing, and then I don't, then it wastes my time, right? So that's up to you. There are a couple of templates that show up right away, and then if you click here, you can expand it, and it goes all the way down through. They have them sectioned out like educational use, personal use, and so on. There's even work and whatnot. There's even a nice one right here, course evaluation for the end of the year. Your students at the end and see how things went, what you were looking to change. Or you can go in and adjust it, or you can start your own from scratch. But there's some that are that one's pretty good. Otherwise, most of those I don't use. I just go in and make my own from scratch, but that's up to you. Let me reduce this here a little bit. But what can you use Google Forms for? You can really use it for anything, right? A test. I've been using it for tests this year. You don't have to use it for full-blown test assessment. You can use it as a little quiz. The quiz that counts, who doesn't. You can do a pre and a post and see how they change. You can even put one on as practice that they can do for an exam and let them do it many, many times and see how they progress over time. You can do it like that. You can do it for surveys. You can use it for parent signups, even like we were just using the other one. But there are all sorts of things that you can use it for.
I like the exit ticket on there too.
The exit ticket that's already there is okay. You can also use it for bell ringers. You can use other types of exit tickets other than what's there. You can design your own. I used to just use them for like practice quizzes. And then I started using them for small quizzes. And then this year I've been using them for real tests. And the reason I like to do them for the real tests, I'll show you an example here, is because I can make it more personalized for my students and for my class. So like my anatomy class, for example. Oh, hold on. My anatomy class, for example, they had to learn some terms for body parts, and then they had to learn different directional terms like anterior, posterior, and whatnot. And then we combined all those as part of their practice with those terms. They and take pictures of each other, and then go back and put them on a slide deck, and then go back in and label it using the right directions and the right parts. So, and then I took those and put them on the test of the actual kids in each class. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So like here's one of the girls, right? Here's one picture that was taken. I pulled it right out of that slideshow that they did, and then I used it as part of the test. Is this person in the anatomically correct position? I didn't ask what anatomically correct position was. They can't just Google that answer, right? Because they've got this Chromebook in front of them while they're taking this online test, and then I can't look at 30 people at the same time to make sure they're not, cheating, right? I want to design it where those questions aren't things that they can just search for an answer for real quick. They're application questions. And then that makes it a more authentic assessment anyway, right? Because you're really testing if they understand if they can apply that information. So then I just put her picture up from that class, and I said, is she in an anatomically correct position? You have to know what that is in order to answer that question. And it's not something you're going to search. This was from one of their handouts that they had that they labeled. The exact handout they had added the picture here. You can add pictures, you can add videos to your forms, you can ask questions about that, right? Even like my tissue test, I actually had the answers were pictures. Which one of these tissues is this particular example I'm looking for? So they couldn't have looked that up, right? When they did that one PowerPoint like this. So here's another picture of a girl, right? She's got her hand on her forehead like this. So which one of these statements would be true about what she's doing there? They have to apply those directions. They have to apply those body areas that they're talking about. They learned that this is palmar and this is frontal. And her palmar is superficial to her frontal. There's more than one answer here. Her palmar is also anterior to her frontal. Her palmar is also superior to her cervical, and so on. I could put in the pictures that they use, I could use the same descriptions they use, or I could make another description to go with it, right? So even if they've got that exact same thing, they still can't go back to that slide deck that they had and look for the answer if I gave a different description that's also true for the picture. And then the kids like to see their own pictures on here. So I've got all sorts of crazy pictures on here from the kids. Like, hold on, I like this one right here, right? So what's true about that picture? So it makes it a more authentic assessment, right? Even something like this one here. Then this one, they used it and they gave a description for what that was, but then I used the same picture and asked a different question. What areas are visible in that picture and so on. So it's a more authentic assessment. So how do we get started? Let's make a form, right? So let's just start with a blank form right now. I'm going to go back right here to a blank form. And I'm going to click that plus button right there. If you want to go back in later and play with those templates, you can do that. But I'm going to start with a blank form. And just pull it up and take a look at it. You don't have to go in and type all these different things. Like here's, what the file's going to be called, and here's the title in the form and your first question. I find that if I just start right here and type in the title, like this is going to be, I don't know, Chapter 5 test on skin, right? Chapter 5 test skin. If I just type it right there, and then I go here and I click, it automatically populates that for me. And then I don't have to type that twice. Okay? So I start typing my title right in the form, and then I click up there, and then that's how it's going to be saved. And then you can click here to adjust what folder it's going to go in to organize it in your drive. Are we good so far?
Sometimes I like to change the name too. Like you guys understand that name at the top is the drive name. So sometimes if you want the form to be the exact same name, but you want to call it something else in your drive, you can change that up there.
Yeah, they don't have to be the same, but if you want them the same, they can be. I just do it that way. Sometimes I go back and use the same one. So like I just made a test this year that I'm going to use again next year, right? But I don't want to have all the same answers that are in, so I'll make a copy of it and then go in and change a few things. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then you have a choice here with your test questions that you want to use, right? So you can put in a description of your test right there, instructions or what it's all about or whatnot. But if you're ready to just start typing in a question, right? You just put in your information here, like, is this person in correct position? And then I'm going to show you how to add a picture to that. Over here is your choice of what kind of question you want to ask them. Do you want it to be a multiple choice question? Do you want it a short answer? Is it going to be a paragraph? Right, you've got a couple of choices there. The linear scale, like rate this from 1 to 5, 0 being totally unhappy and 5 being I could do this in my sleep. That's a good thing to use for exit ticket also. Or even as like when they first walk in, what do they already know about it? Or check boxes if you want to have a whole list or drop down. Most of the time, it's a multiple choice, right? And then you can type, even though it only has 2 options here, you can just keep adding more. So for this one, it's just a yes or a no. Yes, no, let's do yes, no, maybe. And then we're going to add a picture to it. When you want to add a picture, right, you can add the picture up here in the question. You can add the picture as an answer. You see the little picture icon that shows up right here, right? You could even add a picture up top here in that description or anywhere else on there if you just have your cursor there. And then you click the little picture button over here. You can add a picture. You can add a video, right? So if I wanted to add a picture of skin in general to that, I would click that one. You can take it from your drive if you have something in drive you want to select, or you can search for a picture. Maybe you don't have a picture, but you're looking for one, right? So you just click search. I want skin, and it's going to search for an image for me, right? And then I can go through and pick one. Which skin image do I want to use? I think I don't want this one. That'll give them some answers. I think I'm going to use this one, right? and then select, and it'll post it there. Once it posts, you can resize it just like you would any image, right? You can resize it. You can add a title to it, right? Is this healthy skin? Or whatever you want. If you click the three little buttons here, it'll let you determine whether you want that picture aligned to the left, aligned to the right, in the center. If you don't like that picture, it pops up there and it's like, oh, that doesn't look the way I thought it would, and you want to change that picture, you can do that right here under change. Or if you wanted to take it out, just hit the little trash can, right? Oh, well, let's see, let me change it. I'll try a different one instead. Maybe I want that one. And then it automatically changes it. And again, you can resize it. Like, oh, that's way too big. Let me resize that image. Still too big. Or you decide, you know what, I don't think I want that thing. I don't want that picture at all. Then just click and click remove, right? How are we feeling about picture so far? So if I want a picture right here in the question. If I roll over that part, you see the little picture button comes up right there? If you click the picture button over here, it's going to show up wherever your cursor is. But I want it specifically here in my question. So I want to roll over that part, click my little plus button, and I'm going to upload a file from my Google Drive. Right? I have a specific picture in mind that the kids took. I want to reuse it, right? So it's in my drive. You pick what folder it's in, you find one. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to put it right in. And again, I can resize that however I want, right? You can add more options. You can have 7 choices down there if you want. If you have a test that you want to modify for someone, you can go back afterwards and delete some of those. It's not a problem. If I want to repeat, if I want to ask 3 questions about the same picture, instead of me making those 3 questions and adding that picture every time, I can just copy the picture, copy the question that I've already made. That's what this button right here does. But you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is a required question, right? Because I'll want them to answer all my questions. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It depends on what you're using it for. And if I always am going to make questions required when I'm doing a form, I could actually go up here under my preferences and put that in. Like I always wanted my questions to be required. I always want my questions to be worth 2 points, and I wouldn't have to do that for each one, right? So you could do that, right? Up here in my preferences, I can make all my questions required. This whole thing, I always want my emails addresses collected, and I always want it worth 2 points. I can put that right in my preferences. And you can go back and change that at any point. Those are going to be my default settings. Then I don't have to do it each time.
What's the value of having them put their email?
Collect their email.
When I do the tests with these, I don't ever collect their names. I just collect their emails.
And you could do that. I collect their name too, or at least their last name, because then I like to sort mine on the spreadsheet alphabetically so that it's easy for me to put in PowerSchool.
Yes.
But I always collect their email, because sometimes what happens if they didn't fill in their name? Then at least if their email's collected and they didn't type in their name, they skipped over that part, right? Because kids do that sometimes.
So if
I've got 3 Bens.
So if I include the class period, then I could later sort them by period, and then do a secondary sort by alphabet.
Yep.
And it'll match my grade book. Oh, genius.
And I don't sort mine. I sort mine by period, but I don't ask for period. I just know, like, I look at the name, like the last one in that period, then I sort just that range. And then I sort another range. But there are a couple of ways you can do that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay?
So she'll speak into eventually too about the fact that if you only want them to be able to take it once, you have to collect their emails,
Yeah.
so it locks them into that and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, then they you know who it came from. They can't go back and do it more than once. Those are, so we're going to get to those settings in a minute too. Okay? But let's say I wanted to ask 3 questions about this particular picture, right? And I might change a little, but it's going to have the same answer choices. I'm just going to change the question, right? So instead of doing that 3 times, I could just make a copy That's what this button is right here, duplicate. I could just make a copy of this question. And then I have it again, and then I have it again. And then I can go back through and I can change what I'm asking, but it's the same picture, it's the same answer choices, right? And I want this to self-grade for me. I don't want to have the whole reason I'm spending my time up front putting this in is so that it grades it for me, and then I can collect a whole bunch of data at once. That's why I like all 3 of my anatomy classes on one spreadsheet, because then it's more data for each question, so I know which questions are good and which questions are bad, or which areas I have to reteach. Do you know what I'm saying? Or which ones I didn't do a good job on, right? Or the ones that they just struggle with the most.
But don't you have a problem with your kids sharing their questions and answers? Because I find I have to make different tests.
You could do that, but you can also randomize the question.
I know, but I mean, they.
Oh, yeah, I do. I make.
So you randomize the question order. You can also make multiple copies of this test. So like when I do a retest, right? I'll make a copy of this test I already have up here, up top. I'll make a copy right here where it says make a copy. And then once I make that copy, and I'll just put, like retest in my description. And then I go back through and I change a few things here or there. So even though it looks like it's the same test, it's not the same test. I'm asking a different question, or I've got different choices, because I can use some of those same pictures, let's say, and just ask a different question about it. So you can have like A form, B form, C form of your test right up front. And when you send the test to your kids, you can send, test A to this certain group and test B to that certain group, or just these 3 kids, right? I do the same thing when I'm making a modified version of this. I have a girl who needs a severely modified test, less choices, less questions, and so on. So I'll make a copy of this, and then I'll go in and take certain things out. So if I've asked for the same skill more than once, I'll go back through and then just remove certain questions so that I'm only asking her one time, so she's going to have time to do it in the period. But I want it to self-grade for me, right? So what you want to do is you want to go back and you want to put your answers in. So if you click on it, come down here to the bottom. Ooh, hold on, I got to make it a quiz first. Have to make it a quiz. So we're going to go up top here, and we're going to click settings. Collect email address. This is what Rick was just telling you here. I don't ever send them receipts, but you can if you want to. But I always collect their email.
I need to in certain situations.
Well, whatever you want to do. And then I only want them to take it once, right? I don't want them to take it once, go home and do it again and change a grade, or go home and open it again and share it with someone else. I don't want that to happen. So if it's a test, I'm going to click limit to 1 response. And I don't want them to edit after submit, so I'm going to leave it like that. Now, maybe you do. Maybe it's something that you want them to keep trying. That's different. You want them to do it 10 times, right?
Here's the one thing I ran into with that, and you can't tell me if this is wrong, but it seems to work this way last year. I had a student that got an 100% extended time when I did this. If they don't hit submit, I got their
It'll stay open.
Right. So that will not register that they did it. So like you go, okay, you get done with problem 50, you still are on 40, and you got 10 more to go. They don't, like if they close out of that, they're done.
Yeah.
I mean, like but they can open up, but it will not register that they've already done it. So you're going.
And if you've got someone that's going to take that long, like my one girl, sometimes it takes her all day to do one test. So what I do for her, she has an A. I would make a print copy, because you can print this out, right after you make the form. I give her a printed paper copy so that she can keep track of what she's already done in case it's going to take her several hours to do it. Okay, so there are a couple of ways around it. You can turn on and off when you're accepting things or not, or you can have her submit it, and then you can go back and change the limit 1 response and take that off for her, right? Make a copy and take that off for her so she can go back in once.
What happened is that they had period 11 free, and it was period 12 class. So anytime I knew it would be an extended time,
You just give it to her ahead of time.
You come in period 11, start.
Yeah, there are a couple of ways around that.
So that's good.
Yeah, but we want to make this, I don't want them to see a summary, and I don't want them to submit, to edit after they submit. How do I want this to be? I want it to shuffle the question order so that even though let's say I've got one form, right? But I don't want you and your buddy going through the same thing together. So if I hit shuffle question order, you may be on this question, you're on that one. Only the problem with that is if you're asking for a last name and first name as a question, then their last name and first name randomly pop up anywhere in your form. But that's a good way to have them all at once, but not everybody's on the same question. So I often will do that. And they know by now their name's just going to randomly pop up somewhere for me.
Last name and first name.
Last name and first name, or however you want it. Now you can also click show progress bar. Like if you want them to see like how far along they are, like you've got 30 questions and you want them to see they're on number 17, you can click that. That's up to you. You can even put in a little message here like thank you for taking the test. I hope you did well, or some other personalized thing. It depends on what your goal is for this. And then quizzes. We want to make this a quiz. If you make this a quiz, it'll let you go in and put the answers, even if it's not a quiz, even if you're just using it for something else, a ticket out the door, and you want to have some responses already there for them to choose from, whether it's multiple choice or drop down, right? If you do short answer like that, they have to type it exactly the way you have it, otherwise it won't do it. But you can always grade it later and you can go back and look at it. But if you want it to do it for you, click make this a quiz. Even if it's not a quiz, even if it's a ticket out the door or a worksheet or something like that. And then you can let them see the score right away. Or if you've got like one question in there that's a couple of short answers or one essay question that you want to put that grade all together, you can click that you want to release the grade later after you go back in and look at it. And then you grade that portion. And then you hit save. And then that brings us down here. Now there's an answer key. You click answer key, you tell them what the right answer is, you can adjust your points. I already have mine preset to be 2 points per question, right? But if you didn't have that preset or you wanted to adjust something or that one question really should be worth 5 because it's a harder question, whatever, you can make those points go up or make those points go down. And then you just pick which one of these. Oh, this is going to be no, she is not in anatomically correct position, right? That's going to be the answer for that one. And then I would go back and I would change this question. And the answer to that question is going to be yes, she is, and so on. So you would click answer key for that one, click yes, and keep going. You can do that as you're doing each question, or you can make your whole test and then go back through and fill in your answer key, however you want to do that. How are we feeling about this so far, okay?
One thing that you may want to mention is that when you were back there, your settings screen, like the last page of it there under
The quiz?
down there, right there, like those things that are checked, those boxes. What do you want the kids to see?
Well, that's up to right.
Right.
That's
so
up
like
to
if you were saying you don't want kids to cheat, right? So the way those are checked right now, if you hit release, they're going to see every question they missed and what the right answer is.
Yeah.
So I go and I check just point values.
But maybe you want that because you're going to give them a different version next time. Maybe you don't want that because you don't want them to tell someone else, or you're going to use the same version. That's up to you. You can adjust that.
Okay, so wait, when will they see the missed questions if I choose later after manual?
After they submit it, it'll automatic. And if you have it to like release the grade automatically, as soon as they submit it, it'll come back to them with their grade and it'll show them everything that they got wrong and what the right answer should be.
That's if I want them like, okay, great.
And maybe you want that because you want them to know right away so that they can go home and learn from it and get ready for the next time, and you're going to use a different form, or maybe you don't want that. That's up to you.
What about later after manual review? They don't.
It won't tell them. It won't tell them what their score is, and it won't show them what's right or wrong until you release it back to them.
That's a button.
And then will they have to go back in somewhere to check it out? Or?
Yeah, it'll send them an email that will have that in there. It'll say your
score has been released.
And then they can go back through and read that.
So whatever your goals are, right, you make those adjustments. But I want this to be pretty too. So this purple is too much. I want to go in and I want to change that. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click this color palette. And you can just pick another color, but that's still a little too plain for me. I don't want that. I want something cool. Oops, wrong button. I want some nice little picture there. You can put in pictures that you have. You can upload your own picture. Like when I did the CSI camp this summer, there wasn't a CSI picture up here. I found a CSI picture and then I made that the top of my screen. But there are some pictures that are already here for you that you could pick. You could pick something like this and it would change your theme, right? There are some pre-made themes. There are even some that are animated. Those are pretty cool. I put the animated ones in for my test. You know, the kids don't even notice that stuff moves on the screen. They don't even notice. Yeah. And that, you know, they've got it broken down here by category and whatnot. But they have some that actually move. There's one, the butterflies move, and there's one at the beach. Things move. But you can upload a photo that you have or search for one, right? There's a CSI one that I used for something else. You could even put, you know, pictures of the kids in the class, right, at the top. There are all sorts of things you can do with that.
Here you are sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't tell me you weren't sleeping, Niles. I've got proof, right? Yeah, Niles always tells me he's not sleeping, and Niles is always sleeping. But you can go back and change it, right? And then if you want to see what it looks like so far, you can hit your preview button, and it'll come up for you the way it would show up for the kids. And you're like, oh, I don't want them to see those points, because then they might know there's more than one right answer. Because maybe sometimes for some of your questions, there are multiple answers you want them to check. Sometimes it's not always a one answer question. It's up to what you're doing. And if they see it, this one is 2 questions, this is 2 points, this one's 4 points, then they know there are 2 here and there's 1 there. Maybe you wanted to know that, maybe you don't. And you can go back and change that.
Is there a way?
Yeah.
Since you brought that up. So let's say in your choices here for that first, now scroll down, like picture 1 there.
Yeah.
Let's say the answer is both yes and no for that. Is there a way to get both answers? Like the kids have to click both answers in order to get that
Yeah.
right?
So in your answer, so if you, hold on.
On the answer key.
Yeah, on your answer key, hold on.
I think you're on the answer key page.
Yeah, when you click answer key here, so right now I've only got 1 selected. Okay, I can select 2. But what happens then is if I have it releasing the grade immediately, or I have it auto grading, right? And they only picked 1 out of the 2, maybe I want to give them partial points for that. It won't give them partial points. But then I would click the review after manual submission, and I would go back through. It would just, if I had 2 choices as the right answer and they only picked 1, it would just say they were wrong. But if I wanted to give them partial credit, I could go back through and I could change that. I could go through manually and then add points to it, because it'll show me how it graded it, and then I can go back through and I can add points to it. Just like you add points right here.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I have to do with that.
Their actual answers, you can do it individually, right? When you look at their answers, I'll show you that in a minute, and you can go through and you can add more points. Okay? How are we feeling? Okay, so let's say that's done, and you're ready to send it. So let me show you an example here. Hold on. Let me pull up, not that one. Let me pull up one of my forms that the kids did, so you can see how at the end when you get your responses, right? Is that the one I want? That's not the one I want. Sorry, give me a second. Problem is when you have too many pictures on there, it takes too long to load. But the pictures make it cool for the kids and personalize it for them. And for anatomy, I need all sorts of pictures, even like tissue pictures or pictures that they'd have through microscopes for biology, right? So if I pull up, let me pull up that test where they actually did it here for you. So this is what it looks like for you on your end, questions versus responses. And you can go back at any point in time and edit your form. You can even send it to someone else, like you and the other Spanish teacher are going to use the same test, right? You can add that person as a collaborator right here. You click those 3 little dots right there.
But you want to make sure they make a copy of it, otherwise you
Yeah.
collect all their data too.
Yes. So you can add collaborators so that someone else can edit your form, another teacher, if you want, right? That way they'll be able to do that here. But you do want to tell them to make another copy. Otherwise, all their students goes on your same spreadsheet. You don't want that. So here are my responses. 98 people took this exam, right?
Okay.
So if I click, yeah, see, you see that movement? They didn't even notice. Like that's an example of a cool background, a nice theme, but they didn't even notice it. So if I click responses, it displays a couple of ways. It'll just give me a summary in general, right? These are all the people, these are their individual scores. And then each question, right? Who got things right, who got things wrong? I wouldn't really care about the first name. And if they got it right, wrong, like, you know, okay, this is probably a good question. Most people got that question right. So I can look through it as an educator and look at that and say, okay, that was a good question, or was that question too easy, or was that question confusing, right? Because if I had my green and my gray bars about the same, I'm like, oh, what went wrong here? Is it the way I worded the question? Was I not clear when I taught that? Are they easily confused between this and this? And I can go back and make decisions about changes I want to make. But if I just want to get the kids' scores, right? See how everybody did. You could do it question by question. I like to do individual right here. And if you wanted to turn it off, accepting responses, not accepting responses, right? But I click individual. And then you can go through, you can just go straight to a particular kid, like, you know, how did this kid do? Or you can just scroll through them one at a time if you're going through to like manually look at things and add more points, right? So if I take a look at hers, or I wanted to show her later how she did, right? She wanted to go back over it and didn't have access to it, then it'll go through like that. So let's say this one, you know, I wanted to change her points. You see if I roll over right there, I get that little plus button, right? So I could add more points or take points away. That's what we were talking about a minute ago. If you had more than one answer, right? It'll only grade it the way you put it in. So if you wanted to give partial credit for something, you could change that right there. Or you could take it and you could look at the spreadsheet that it will generate. Let me go back to this one here, the one we were making, right? Nobody took this one yet, but once you click the little spreadsheet button, some people just like to look at it from the form. Some people like to look at it from the spreadsheet, so you can manipulate things. Put it in alphabetical order, separate it out by class, or you could make 3 different copies of it and give, you know, this one to one class, this to another, this copy to another, and it would have it all separate for you. But like if I have 3 sections of anatomy, I want them all on one. So then I've got more data that gives me more reliable information about those questions. You know what I'm saying? But if you click the little spreadsheet, you have these 2 options: create a new spreadsheet or select an existing spreadsheet. So it depends if you want to keep adding it to other stuff. Most of the time, it's just create a new spreadsheet. And then when it comes up, it would populate in there, and then I could sort it. If this was their last name here, right, then I could select that column, and I could go under data, and I could sort it by column D. Or if I knew 1 through 25 were in my first period, I could just select that particular range, and then I could sort it just that range by whatever column. Oh no, it was column D that their last name, so I wanted just those numbers, just those kids sorted by last name, which is in column D, and you could do it like that. So it depends on what you want to do with the data when you have it. You can do it straight from form, or you can open the spreadsheet and you can manipulate it however you want. Okay? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, so let me just show you some things I have for you real quick. So right here, right, this is how we got to this document. You want to go up top and put a little star button, star right there to make a little bookmark if you want to come back to this, quick and easy. Or you can make a copy of this and put it in your drive somewhere if you want to, and you've always got access to it that way, just not any updates that I make. But on this form, right, I put a couple of videos for you. This is a little short one. I think it's three minutes, like a quick down and dirty. How do I do a form again? In case you leave here and you don't get a chance to practice it for 2 weeks, right? Or if you want a slower, fuller, I got time, it's a weekend, I want to really go through this. This full tutorial is about 13 minutes, no big deal. And then this is the Google training link right here to the information that Google puts out about how to do their form. Ooh, I got too many people on here on how to do their form. So this is actually part of the training that you go through when you're trying to do. Is this one Google One? Level 1?
Yep.
Yeah. So you can go through it that way if you want to. Those are resources that are available to you. This is the sample test that I showed you. And then there's also, maybe some people don't like videos and they don't want to go through Google's whole little training thing. You just want to read stuff and you want to have one computer here, one there, and you want to go back and forth or whatever. This is the print version of all things Google Forms. If you want to go back through and read it that way. Some people like things written down, right? So there you go. I've got all of those formats available for you. We talked about how to make it pretty. Remember that? You go up top, oops. You go up top here to the color palette, right? And you can pick one of those colors, or you can click here for pictures, preset things they have, or you can upload your own photos, maybe from a thumb drive you just put in, or if you've already got something saved, right? Either which way. If you want to share it, we did talk about how you could add a collaborator, right? I don't want to do this anymore. You click here and you can add a collaborator, but let's say I just want to share it with someone, right? I can send it, I don't want them to be a collaborator, I just want them to, I want them to take it. Or this kid was absent and he wasn't here that day and I need to send it to him just so he can take it. Or I just made a modified version and I'm sending it down to a girl in the SEC, whatever, right? Then you click the send button here instead. And then you got a couple of choices. You can email them, type it in right there. Who do you want to send it to? Is it another teacher? Is it another kid? Is it someone at another school? You want to share it with Steve because he's coming in that day and you want him to know what your exit ticket's going to look like. You would do it this way. Or, and you can change what you want to do here. But sometimes I will click the link here instead, this little link button, and I will copy the link, and then I post the link on Classroom, right? You could post it on Classroom, and then they just open up Classroom, they click on the link, they take it. Or if it's an exit ticket, then it's there, right? So sometimes you want to do it that way. Sometimes I want to email it to everyone in the class except the 3 kids who are absent. There's a way around that too. I would still do it this way. I would click to the link and make a copy of it. Then I'd go into Classroom like this. I didn't want to post it on Classroom. I just wanted to email it to the kids in that class, right? So if I go to Classroom and you go over to the Student tab in Classroom, let's say we're going to do this one. Students, right? And it gives you that whole list of kids. I just select them all and go back and unclick the 2 that aren't here that day. Actions, email, and then I just paste that link right in the email and send it to them. Or I give them a little note that says, good luck on your test, and then I hyperlink the word test, and it's got the link to it like this. Good luck on your test, right? I want Robin to kill me there. And maybe you could just paste it in there if you want it, right? And then as soon as you hit enter, you know, it's good to go. But I don't like to do that. I like to take it and hyperlink it. Hyperlink the word test like this. I highlight that word. I go down here to the little link button, right? And then I paste it right there. And then once I send it to them, all they have to do is click on the word test and it's their link, right? However you want to do it. It depends on what you're doing. If it's an exit ticket, you can post it right in Classroom. If you want to email it to just one person in the LRC, email, send an email. If you want to email it to a whole class at once, this is how I do it. Okay?
So if I wanted to set up some bell ringers / exit tickets for the week, I can do that on the form.
Sure.
And then collect all of that data as the week goes, right? And there you go.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, one advantage of doing it through Classroom, if you post it as an assignment, or a couple advantages. A, you can see as soon as they hit submit, it'll mark it as done in your classroom. And then the other thing now is Google Classroom and Forms have integration for the grades. So if you do self-graded, there's a little checkbox when you're assigning it in Classroom. It'll actually pull the self-graded grades from quizzes and put them into your Google Classroom gradebook. So 6 of one, half dozen the other. I mean, if you're good with Sheets and you're going to sort it by that, it might be easier that way for you. Some teachers don't want to go into Sheets. It's kind of nice in Classroom that you can say bring grades in. That was just released a couple of weeks ago. That was a little checkbox for it. So you might not have seen it before.
So is there a checkbox that would take it right to gradebook?
Not to Power School.
I've dreamt about that many nights, like just automatically. There's actually only one grade book that integrates right now, and it's not like, supposed to be very strong. So.
But you can organize them. So if your Power School grades are in order, alphabetical order, and they're in, you just sort them by last name. I mean, it's a pain, but you can have a separate window. Just.
I know, I know, but
I know it's a real
makes
pain,
me
but
crazy.
Melissa,
Yeah.
when you show, I can't remember if you mentioned it, but when you do self-graded, the other thing I really like is you can add feedback to an incorrect answer. I don't remember. If you saw
Oh,
that or
yeah.
not. Can you
Yeah.
show that real quick? Like I love to throw in like a YouTube video. So think about a math class. You throw a YouTube video to a Khan Academy because they got a question wrong on the Pythagorean theorem. And then giving them a resource right away, especially if you're using it as like a review the night before, and you're not going to be there to help them. They get a question wrong, it automatically tells them they got it wrong and gives them a resource of where they can find the correct answer so that they're prepared for the next day.
Also, when you're doing short answer things, like I use this for vocabulary where they have to type in the right word. And I just, in the answer key, I can type in all the different things I will accept. Like, do I want the definite article or without the definite article, accept the, I just write in all the words that I will accept and it will grade it for me. So I don't have to go back. The only thing it won't grade for me are like sentences that they create. But
Yeah. Well, and sometimes like, they're going to confuse these two answers. Like it's a common mistake. It happens all the time. That's where sometimes this answer feedback comes in handy. So if you click answer feedback, right, if they get it wrong, instead of just telling them what it was wrong and what the right answer is, it'll tell them why. Like, oh, you forgot to take this into account. Or no, this is inside and not meant outside, or whatever the case may be, right? So if you click that, it comes up like this. You can give feedback for the wrong answers, like, no, it said all inclusive and this is only part of it, right? Or your incorrect or your correct answers, either which way. And then when they get it wrong, it gives them that feedback. It says, no, this is wrong because whatever you typed in there. Okay. You can even sometimes put the links in there yet, right?
The link button right on the bottom.
Yeah. You can put in a link. So like if they're always making that same grammatical error, you can put in a link to a web page that takes them through how to do that again. Like, you still don't understand this, go back to visit this page before you retest again, and so on. Okay? Especially if this isn't a test, right? If it's just a ticket out the door and they got something wrong. Like, oh, you don't understand this yet, go back and do this assignment. Okay? Feeling okay? Who's got questions?
Remember, I'm available at any time if you want to walk through this. I know Melissa would help you as well. My schedule's open, a lot easier to help you. So, reach out to any of us.
What? You don't have 6 classes in a study hall? And 2 meetings after school?
Well, I got this meeting.
Yeah, but I do have some other tips and tricks down here for you. These are all hyperlinked. These are all different things, right? So you can go back and look at later on. And there are add-ons to forms, just like there were add-ons to docs and add-ons to spreadsheets and so on. Okay, that you can go back through and do all sorts of things. But here's a nice tutorial video for you also. Doc to form is one you might use, right? Doc to form means if you've got a Google Doc, let's say there was a worksheet that you did, maybe if it was a while ago, right? It could be something from 3 years ago, and you're like, oh, you know what? I want to turn that into a form. If you have the Doc to form add-on, you can take your doc, it'll pull it up. You pull up your document, and then you take the Doc to form add-on in your doc, right? And it'll give you a little box on the right-hand side, and you can actually convert your doc right into a form directly. The only problem is it'll only let you do 10 questions. It can't be a big thing. You can't like make a whole big giant test. But you can do up to 10 questions that way. And it'll give you the same choices. Do you want it multiple choice? Do you want a short answer? Whatever you want to do.
10 questions overall or just 10 at a time to convert?
10 period. That's it.
Into that.
Right now, until somebody does something else.
Multiple forms in it. So like I couldn't have taken my quarter exam last year and done that,
Nope.
because I got like 50,
Nope.
30
Well,
questions.
unless you were only gonna ask them 10 questions.
Or I have to type out.
Or you could do 10 and then add the other one.
Yeah.
Just to keep in mind, you can, if you have those answers already created, you can copy and paste them right into the form question, and it won't go like A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah,
You do have, but they do have to be linear. They can't be A, B, and then C.
No,
You
if
do
you
have
have
to
them
put
like
them
left
out.
and right. it's
Yeah.
not gonna-
yeah, so I had a doc the other day and I didn't want to do Dr. Forms because I needed to do more than 10. But it was already set up as like it was a practice, it was a study guide that I made for them that I usually printed out, right? And had this question in choice A, B, C, D. I just copied it, and when I pasted it in, it automatically pasted it as separate answers. And then I went back in and put the answer key and whatnot. Okay? A good start?
Yep.
Try using it for something easy, like just do a ticket at the door, or a little pre-quiz or a practice quiz, and then just go from there. Okay? And then if you need anything, we're here. Cool. Okay. Thanks.